Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. Woo! I gotta be really careful because I got a lot on my back, and I got my backpack and my yoga mat and my folding chair. So anyway, woohoo! So anyway, I love you all, and I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. And what a beautiful morning! And I'm out here at a new hiking trail, and so I wanted to bring you along with me, a walk and talk video, and so you'll be able to enjoy the scenery and also a great message for today. So don't mind me. Big, huge butterfly, going by. So anyway, I love you all, and be kind to yourself and others, send some extra love out there, to the ones that are close to you, to your, God. Say, God, I'm grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you for whatever. And, send some love your way by being gentle with yourself. And those that are really close to you, is take a few minutes, to reach out to someone today that you really love and that are there loving and supporting you. And also really, send some love out into the world, because they're, like brothers and sisters out there. So anyway, I love you so much. And thank you to all of you who are here loving, supporting me. And it's no accident that you found this video or found me. That's how this works, is the universe will guide you, and there's no accidents or coincidences in this universe. So anyway, besides that is thank you for all of you that have been here loving and supporting me, and watching my videos, giving me a thumbs up, sharing my videos, leaving me a comment, and I really love and appreciate all of you. And I can't do this by myself. We all need each other one way or another. We all need a helping hand at times. And so besides that, also, if anyone would love to send any love donations, you can through my Cash App, and I will have that available here. Ping! There it is. And also, with that being said, is before I start this video, hello, my name is Starlight. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't forget the notification bell, and you can leave me a message down below, beep, 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 and you can share my videos with your family or friends. Plus, don't forget my playlist, and you can also find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. And okay, today it's about going the extra mile. So that's what this video is about today. So yeah, going the extra mile, is and I have to say, we all go around and we might see different, like things out in our reality, out in public somewhere. And depending on what kind of background you have, as far as like, jobs that you used to have or different things, like, or even maybe you have an expertise or whatever. There's something that you got wisdom and knowledge about. And, for example, I'm just going to put myself in here, is like when I had my own cleaning business, so that is what you got something dirty, Starlight knows how to clean it. So, or if I don't, I will find a way of cleaning it. So anyway, that's what I did for many years, working for companies, learning how to do this and that, for cleaning, being organized, organization and all that stuff came along with being a cleaner. But all the years that I've learned about cleaning, and then I had my own business, is, like I have worked with a lot of cleaning companies, and that's why later on I'm like, what am I doing wasting my time making them rich? I can make my own self rich by starting my own business, and that's what I did, and I'm so proud of myself. But when I was working for a lot of different companies, whether they were good companies or not, I learned a lot. Just like with places that you might have done something for many, many years and working for different companies. And we see a lot of shit, don't we? And Starlight is like a perfectionist. I'm a Virgo. So, but, it is, and that's why I'm so grateful I started my own business, because guess what? It's kind of like burger. I want it my way. Starlight's not a follower. I am a leader. And so Starlight had a really hard time working for companies. Some of them did amazing jobs, for a company, for a boss, training and all that stuff. They did it. I'll tell you what, they get 5 stars because they did. They everything they did, they did an excellent job. And not that they were perfect. They had their areas. Just like a lot of, we're all human. Well, Starlight's an alien. But, yeah, so what I noticed a lot, and it's one of those things that will drive you bonkers when, because Starlight's a perfectionist, well, I used to be, but now on this journey, it's taught me to kind of let go of that and just say, Starlight, it's okay. You don't have to have your videos perfect. And so, I don't have to be perfect. I'm just, because this helps you out too, is by me not being perfect. And, you kind of learn to relax a little bit and understand it's okay that you're not perfect, So as when I used to work for all these cleaning companies, and we all might go through this, especially like if you're a perfectionist like Starlight, is like when people would come into the company and they're gonna go through training, and then they're gonna be, they have a supervisor or manager that's gonna be there, watching over them, making sure they're doing their job. And of course with Starlight, all you gotta do is, train me, show me where I gotta go, what rooms I gotta go into, I don't need to be babysat. And that's why I started my business later on, I didn't need to have a babysitter all the time with me, but what I noticed, and it would really drive me bonkers, is like, and it was simple little things, where people, they got trained right. They could have a great boss that really was thorough with the training, but when the person, I'm going to go this way. When the person was by themselves and they were, being, the manager or the supervisor's like, oh, they seem like they're doing a good job, and so they let them alone, because then they're like, okay, because everybody takes, a different amount of time as far as being trained and being able to be by themselves, depending on their experience. If it's their first time ever working for a cleaning company, yeah, it's going to take time. And the worst part for me actually working for a cleaning company is if you're in a big, huge building, and the worst part, it's not about the cleaning, it's about not getting lost in the building. That takes more time. Because I've worked in big companies before, you had to walk a long distance, and what room is that I'm supposed to, go in to clean. So that was the worst part for me, is just learning the layout of the building and not getting lost and wasting a bunch of time just walking around back and forth. Hang on, I got a train behind me. Oh no, Starlight, get out of the way, you got a train behind you. So anyway, and I see this when I go out in public, and you might see it too. And I was going to take a picture of this. Believe me, it won't be hard for me to find another place like that does this. But and it drives me batty. It really does. When I see this, I'm like, going the extra mile, is people could get trained the right way. And what happened is they lack off, they kind of slack off. They don't really, it's a heart thing to me. It's really about your heart. Is when you love what you do, it shows. It really does. It really shows when you really, when I had my own cleaning business. Now, if I was sick, there was a different story, if I'm not feeling well. And it's like, oh, I got to get this job done. I'm like, because I've had many of those days. But going the extra mile, even, with your work, is not doing things half-ass. I'll tell you, Starlight, that's a hard thing for Starlight, is witnessing people doing things half-heartedly, doing it half-ass, like an easy, simple thing, and I see it all over, like maybe in a library somewhere, at a business somewhere, and it's where you got a garbage can, and it's an easy thing. It's an easy thing. Going the extra mile, just like, all they got to do, if they were trained right, is you take a garbage bag, and it's like it could be a small garbage bag or a big garbage bag, depending on the garbage can. And, normally you kind of grab the bag, hold on the two sides separate from each other, and then you're going to kind of like get some air in there so you can open up the garbage bag with the air flow, and that way you can stick it in the garbage can. And this is what I've seen a lot. People won't go the extra mile when they get the garbage bag inside the garbage can, and it just takes a little bit of extra work. Nothing really, is to make sure that you put your hand in the garbage can, so then, when somebody throws garbage in the garbage can, the garbage actually goes down in the bottom of the garbage can. And instead of just, half-ass just putting the bag in there, and sometimes people will tie those bags and do different things with them depending on the size of the can, and then they walk away, they might even put a top on there. But then when somebody comes along and they're trying to put garbage in there, it's like, what the heck, the garbage bag is kind of sealed up on the top, where if you threw something on, just threw it on top of the garbage bag, it wouldn't even drop down to the bottom of the can. That's doing it half-ass. It's not, it took too much more energy to just stick your hand down in it, spread it open inside, to open up the bag inside and put the lid on. It's not that much work. But those are things that will irritate. I mean, I've actually have gone in places, went and used the bathroom, and I actually was training somebody, because I'm like, okay, they might have the same, cleaning companies, a lot of times they'll have the same person, if they got a crew for one company, and it's the same crew and they don't have a bunch of other people, there's going to be one person, their job is to go around and do all the garbage. But it should be neat. It should be, so when people use it, there's no issue about just throwing garbage in there. Even in parks, I see it. It drives me bonkers to see that they didn't take the extra time just to, and it looks neater when you do things the right way. When you walk in, it doesn't look sloppy. Because then I get an energy. The energy sucks. When I go in a place and the garbage bag is half-ass into the garbage can, it's an energy. It's you kind of get the feel of the person, that they didn't care about what they were doing. They didn't go the extra mile, It's a heart thing, and so like that's just a really small example, and I know you guys might see things, depending on your background, as far as seeing things that you're like, even cleaning a bathroom or cleaning a toilet, where there's people that do things half-ass. How many times do you go into a restaurant and go use the bathroom where, a good portion of the toilet is clean, but the bottom of the base is dirty as heck? Like, when was the last time they cleaned the base of the toilet? And so these are things about going the extra mile as far as physical stuff out in our reality. But with people, this is what the message is really about, is we need to go the extra mile for people, for our loved ones. And this is what happens to a lot of relationships, is that, just like the person that didn't do the garbage bag, a simple, easy task. Even handicapped people, most of them, can learn how to actually stick a garbage bag in a garbage can and get taught and trained how to properly do that, where it looks beautiful and people can actually use the garbage can without no issue, because like when I go into a bathroom, my job shouldn't be in there to go in there to straighten up the garbage bag so and tie it properly, so then when and I've done this. I was like, I would go into a bathroom. I'm like, you gotta be kidding, so I would fix the garbage bag, tie it up, really, and it looked so beautiful. When I went in there, it was so sloppy, and it felt so amazing, the energy. So being a cleaner, there's a difference. You can have somebody that has a half heart about their job, and when you walk into the room, you could feel the energy. You can make the space in that room beautiful. The energy would feel so amazing if people had their hearts right, and they really went the extra mile and said, you know what, it only is going to take me a couple seconds, to do this or that, just a little touch-ups. It's amazing how wonderful that space can feel, just because you went the extra mile, just because you dealt with the details. And that's what Virgo is about, details. So those are things that, simple little things, and in relationships, how many of you, don't really go the extra mile for the relationship that you're in? Hang on, I gotta actually. So how many of you don't take the extra time for, the relationships that you have? And it could be, a loved one, a sweetheart, a man or a girl, husband or wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, maybe a special friend, just going the extra mile. Because what happens is that, with relationships, there's times kind of like a family, is that, you need to kind of really evaluate the relationship and see, hey, is there, am I kind of getting pulled away a little bit too much in this? Maybe I'm getting a little stretched out, and putting my energy in places where it don't belong, and maybe I'm not really, really there for my loved one, these are how relationships fall apart. It doesn't happen overnight. It just gradually starts falling apart, because a lot of times we're taking those people for granted, and it could be both of the couple, if it's a couple, it could be taking each other for granted, not really thinking of the little things in the relationship to make it last and to make it a beautiful thing. So you really got to really think of, what are you doing different now in that relationship? Are you really there for them? Or are you slacking off in different things, with maybe you're not communicating like you used to, So there's so many different things that we need to, tighten things up a little bit and say, you know what, I need to evaluate and see, something doesn't feel right in my relationship with this person. What is it that I'm doing different? What is it that I can work on? Because, in this reality, in this 3D reality matrix, is that we get distracted, Are you working, extra hours, and maybe you're slacking off at the home, there's people, what they do is that, they'll slack off and they'll, even, I'm going to even use this as even having a business or working for a company. Same kind of shit happens to relationships. Is people could start a job, and I've heard this many times, and I've even been guilty of doing this myself, is there's been times I actually had a new person came in at the company to, they got hired for the job, and, and they were going through the training, and I was observing them, and I'm thinking, and what it is, I screwed up, I spoke up too too soon. That was a lesson. I was like, wow, you're doing a really good job. And I'll tell you what, it wasn't long after that, they were slacking, they were slacking. You know what? They were just doing the bare minimum of what they were supposed to do. And, I was like, Starlight, you said that too soon. You needed to wait a while, because that's what happens to a lot of companies is that in the beginning, oh yeah, they kick ass, man. They're doing everything right. They are like working so hard to get those first clients and stuff like that. And after a while in time, they end up, they kind of don't really, because I know I've been there, is they really didn't give themselves enough time and they wanted the money. So what ends up happening is they cut corners. They cut corners on their business, and they're like, oh shit, I told them I can get this job done in this month. They want the job. So they, but then ends up happening is that now they're at the job and there's a list of things that they're supposed to get done at this job because Starlight's been guilty. I know what this is like. And so when they did the job, though, did they get everything done? They got the money, but did they get every single thing that was supposed to get done at the job? No. And that's what happens to relationships. In the beginning, oh yeah, they got everything. They're right on top of this and that, they're trying to, convince these people that they're the ones and that they're the greatest thing on earth. And as time goes by, they slack. Just like that cleaning company or company out there, they're not doing all that. It was all, because that's why it's so important to get to know the people before you even get together with them, is to test people out. That's why it's so important not to jump right into stuff because, people can fake it for the longest time. I'll tell you what, years of faking it. And then, it could be like, I'm not even kidding you. It could be 3 years of faking it in a relationship. And then, then the reality kicks in and you're like, what the heck? Because they were faking it the whole time. And so with a relationship, you got to look at it. Okay, what was, are you slacking from, were you pretending in the beginning in that relationship to get that girl or get that guy, and now, you got everything that you wanted, and now you're slacking off, and now things are not kind of going the way you wish it would, because you were not even being real when you got with the person in the first place. So that's why it's so important to be real and be honest, especially with yourself first, because if you can't be honest with yourself, how are you going to even be honest with them? And that's why it's so important that, we need to go the extra mile for people that mean something to us, people that are there supporting us, is that, when you start doing something is, hey, I'm going to help you out, and not that you're going to be perfect, but we need to go the extra mile, and not just for people that we have in our life, is even people out in public. If you see somebody, and take the time, slow down a little bit, because there's people out there, they're lost. They don't know what they're doing right now, and our ego will, act like we're okay and we don't need anybody. But there's people out there, and that's why it's so important to be friendly to people and say hello, because you might be the person that God, can send their way and help them out with, and to be inspire them, or to give them some wisdom or some knowledge that you went through, So, going the extra mile is slowing down and really, caring more about the people around and not being so quick. Like when we go in gas stations or restaurants or wherever, especially gas stations, people go in. And now I understand if you got to go to work. Yeah, you got to go to work. But, people are so in a rush. Hurry up, go in there, get your food, hurry up and leave. And there's a place out here called Wawa's. And they got, I really like this place because they have a variety of stuff, not just for meat eaters, but for even people that have vegetarian diets. But people will order their stuff and, they're so programmed to hurry up, get in there, not even say hi to anybody, and hurry up and get back out. So we need to take the extra mile about slowing down and, really, saying hello to somebody, like just, brighten up their day, put a smile on somebody's face. I actually seen somebody do this. They put a sign out at a hiking trail. They put like a piece of cardboard and they put a little sign onto a bench, and it said, do something today that, will put a smile on somebody's face. And I thought, wow, that is so sweet. But the sad part is somebody had to come around, see the note, and rip it in half, So we could go the extra mile by going out and really doing what that message said, is to try to go out and put a smile on somebody's face. You know what? And don't even pay attention to the facial expressions or whatever, because, you got to avoid that, Somebody could look really grumpy and mean and sad and all that stuff. You'd be surprised at how you can make them feel like sunshine. So anyway, I love you so much. So let's go the extra mile, in our relationships, And it does. It takes time. But you know what? You'll put time on what really matters, If you're spending more time at work than in your relationship, what does that tell the person that, you say you love, If you're working more than you're actually building on that relationship, making sure you got a foundation that's strong, what are you telling that person? Is that, hey, is the job, the money more important? Right now I'm actually not reaching out to somebody because, the last couple of times I reached out to them, they're like, hey, sorry, I am busy. Well, okay, you're busy. I got the message. So I'm teaching them a lesson, and when they do finally reach out to me, I'm like, hey, you know what? You make time for what's important, because I'm not going to have people use me, and I'm not going to chase people, I'm done with chasing people and, chasing the approval of other people. I've learned that through my mentors. I don't chase anymore. I'm not going to chase people to, hey, love me. No, you know what? If they really, they're gonna like, she's not calling me every other week. What's up with that? And then they're, because I did this before and it worked. They realize they screwed up. And so anyway, go the extra mile in your relationships, your job. Some of you might get, on the way out to getting fired, because just like we're all human, and it's easy to slack, but you know what? It's not easy to always climb, and keep on pressing and working and, not falling behind on stuff, or even in relationships. So really think of the relationships that you are in. If you're not happy, then you could do something to make that, change by working on yourself and, balancing out more and really seeing, what matters to you, where do you spend your time. So anyway, I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight, love, light, and peace. Thank you for watching. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight, love, light, and peace.